The weekend I'll never forget. I go to a small UC campus in California, nowhere near the size or reputation of giants like UCLA, Berkeley, or UCSB. Most of those schools host wild, campus-wide events where the incoming students tour while the current students take it as an excuse to throw the craziest parties of the year. At Berkeley, it's called Cal Day. At UCSB, it's Deltopia. Everyone knows about these events, even students from other campuses. And even though it's about a 2.5-hour drive from my school to Santa Barbara, it's a common tradition for students to make the trek just to be part of the chaos. I never really saw the appeal. I'm not much of a partier, and in all my years at college, I'd never gone. But something changed this year. Maybe it was the realization that it was my senior year, and I wouldn't get another chance. So when my friends invited me to roll with them to Deltopia, I surprised myself by saying yes. We left on a Friday afternoon the day before the real madness begins. The car was packed tight. Hunter was driving. Damon, Benjamin, Armand, and I filled out the rest. All of us are over 6 feet tall, so space was a luxury we didn't have. Still, the ride went by fast. We had good music, better conversation, and the energy of knowing we were doing something out of character. Once we reached Isla Vista, reality hit. Parking was impossible. We circled the area for nearly an hour, increasingly tempted to just give up. But then Hunter worked his magic he charmed a sorority girl into letting us take her assigned spot. We laughed about it all the way back to his sister's place. Hunter's sister, a junior at UCSB, had offered to let us crash at her apartment. It wasn't exactly the Ritz, more like open floor space, but during Deltopia, a place to sleep is gold. Her and her roommates were super chill, so we ended up partying with them that night, even though the main event was still a day away. Now, here's where things start to get weird. Hunter is one of those guys who knows everyone. Friendly, charismatic, you name it. And one of the people he knows is a guy named Amir. I say knows, because calling Amir a friend is generous. He's the type that clings to social circles without really being part of them. Loud, needy, always hijacking conversations, and constantly fishing for attention. He's also done some messed up things to my friends in the past. So I'll be blunt, I don't like him. Amir had mentioned to Hunter weeks ago that he might be going to Deltopia too, but there was never any talk of linking up. None of us even thought about him during the drive down. Then came the first shock. After we'd settled in, we went out to make a liquor run for us and the girls. As we stepped out of the store with bags in hand, we saw someone standing off to the side with his hands in his pockets. It was Amir, just there. No one said anything. We walked past him, and without a word, he fell in line behind us like he'd been part of the crew the entire time. "Why are you guys so surprised to see me?" he finally asked, as if he genuinely couldn't grasp why his presence was shocking. We didn't answer. We just kept walking. But the weirdness wasn't over. Back at the apartment, Amir asked if he could use the bathroom. Hunter reluctantly said yes. Amir sprinted ahead, and when Hunter's sister opened the door, he pushed right past her and said, "I'm staying here." She didn't know who he was, but assumed he was with us. When Hunter found out Amir had lied, he lost it. He pulled him aside and told him, clearly and directly, that he wasn't welcome, especially after crossing a line like that. Amir didn't go quietly. He stood outside the door for 20 minutes, trying to argue his way back in before finally leaving. Later that night, we realized something even more disturbing. Amir only knew where we were staying because Hunter had been sharing his location with him through iPhone. That was the only way he could have found us. He had stalked us there. The next day, Deltopia lived up to the hype. We partied hard, met up with 5 more friends, and headed back to the apartment with our now group of 10. Naturally, we filled them in on the Amir drama. One of them, Ryland, casually mentioned he still had Amir's location saved. He pulled it up and his expression turned pale. The dot on the map, Amir's location, was almost exactly where we were. The second we noticed it, the dot started moving. Fast. Like he'd been sitting in a car nearby, watching us, and was now driving away. We were all freaked out, but also kind of laughed it off. It was creepy, sure, but Amir was just being Amir, right? That night, everything changed. It was past midnight when I woke up randomly. Everyone else was still asleep, probably too drunk to be conscious. As I was adjusting to the darkness, I heard a sharp, violent sound. Glass shattering. My heart started pounding. No one else had stirred. I grabbed an empty wine bottle from the floor, the closest thing I had to a weapon, and tiptoed toward the living room. The sliding balcony door was smashed to pieces. A rock lay in the middle of the floor, surrounded by broken glass. Without needing a single clue more, I knew it was Amir. I turned to wake the others, but something caught my eye. The closet door handle, just slightly, jiggled. I froze. He was inside, hiding, waiting. I almost opened the door. I had my hand on the knob, but instinct stopped me. Instead, I ran and woke Hunter. When I told him what I'd seen, his face went dead serious. We crept back to the living room. The closet door was now wide open. No Amir. Hunter cautiously reached inside. When he pulled his hand out, he was holding a kitchen knife. A big one. That meant only one thing. Amir had been standing in that closet, waiting, armed. If I had opened that door on my own, there's a very real chance I wouldn't be here to tell this story. We woke up the entire house, searched everywhere. Amir was gone. We called the police and filed a report, but they basically said property damage during Deltopia was normal. Rylan checked Amir's location again, but it was gone. He had stopped sharing. All of us realized we'd been blocked. Every single one of us. No messages would go through. Amir had vanished. We left the next morning still shaken. Hunter made sure his sister and her roommates had someone to stay with for the next few nights, just to be safe. Before we pulled away, he wrote Amir a long, brutal message.